estate planning and asset protection, it's pretty much preparing documents so that people protect their families, their kids, by naming guardians.
At the end of the day, something could happen, and then if you don't have it prepared, you know, what's going to happen to your kids?
As you go.
Is that like going to blow up? What's happening? What would you say are your biggest challenges when it comes to owning a business?
I think definitely it has been like the mom guilt, right? Feeling like I'm not a good lawyer, like I'm not being a good lawyer or good business owner, and also not being a good mom. Taking care of myself has been a struggle because I feel like everybody goes first before me, right? Like my child's needs go first, my clients go first.
Yeah, I feel like it's not like a balance. It's like you kind of give what you need to at the time to wherever you're. It's just learning, like, not even multitasking. It's like putting the attention on one thing that really needs it at the time and then focusing and shifting. Okay, Priscilla, tell me a little bit about your business.
Yes, so I am an attorney and I'm a family immigration, estate planning, and asset protection attorney.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's called Revollo, Castlebary and Associates,
Law
correct?
firm, yes.
Law firm. Okay. So what type of law do you do?
Family immigration and estate planning and asset protection.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you explain what that entails?
Sure. So family immigration is basically petitions between spouses. So people that want to bring their, meet their spouse abroad and want to bring them in, or their spouse is already here and they want to give them residency, parents for their kids to their parents, just anything, petitions between family members. And estate planning and asset protection, it's pretty much preparing documents and also being part of the process of making decisions so that people protect their families, their kids, by naming guardians in case something were to happen to them.
Okay. So sort of in the event that, let's say, a parent or both parents pass away, it's deciding who would take the children and then the finances behind where everything would go, correct?
Right, yeah. So the assets. Also, if they were to get in a car accident, during COVID, people were incapacitated, intubated, but they weren't really dead. So a will, people were finding that like a will wasn't enough because, they weren't dead. Nobody was looking at their will, and a lot of people were lacking power of attorneys, financial power of attorneys. Somebody needed to pay bills while they were incapacitated and they didn't have the authority to do so. So yeah, estate planning is all of the documents, they work together. That's why a will is not enough, or a power of attorney is not enough. You need to have all the documents that will cover you if you were to die or pass away or be incapacitated, that kind of stuff. Well, die and pass away is the same thing.
Yeah, it's a deep topic. When we were figuring out what we were going to do, like if me and Ross passed away with our kids, I made the mistake because we have we have a couple different people. Right, I made the mistake of bringing it up, and one of my sisters got really mad because we had named my others because she has kids, and my one sister wants to eventually move abroad, and so we were like, well, we want our kids to stay in the States where their family lives, and so I made that mistake, and then it was kind of it was a touchy subject, so I can imagine there's a lot of emotions involved when you're meeting with people. Yeah,
and I would actually say not mistake. I think it's very important for people to talk with their families about this, because it's better for there to be that conflict while you're here, where you can explain your reasoning behind why you made the decision, than when you pass away and then they have that conflict, and then maybe your sister's like so not okay with it that she can fight your other sister for this. No, she actually wanted me, so you're here to explain that. So I understand why people stay away from disclosing their decisions to family members, because it does make for an awkward Christmas dinner, So
she got over it. I think she's over it. I don't know. She's gonna listen. She's like one of my subscribers. She's gonna listen to this and be like, oh, okay. I guess you're right though. Like, it's hard to talk about death just overall, and a lot of people are uncomfortable talking about it, but it's important because at the end of the day, something could happen, and then if you don't have it prepared, what's going to happen to your kids, or if you don't explain it, like they're not going to be there. You're not going to be there to answer their questions of why you chose this person. So that's right. Yeah. It wasn't a mistake.
So no, you did the right thing. Yeah. And I definitely work with my clients so they can have these conversations with their family members when they have minor kids, once their kids grow up and they can understand what they created for them. Why did you pick my sibling to be your power of attorney and not me? Why did you pick this sibling to be a healthcare directive? And have those conversations so everybody's on the right page when something like that happens. My goal for my clients is not just preparing documents, but it's preparing them and their families so that there's no conflict.
That's
because
great.
People, death and money do very weird things to people.
Yes.
And so when you have these conversations ahead of time, it helps to just make sure that everybody's on the same page.
So would you say that you do like half and half with the immigration and the estate planning, or do you do more of one thing here in Chattanooga?
So I think it started with maybe 80% immigration, 20% estate planning.
Okay.
Now it's 50-50, but it's going towards more like 80% estate planning and less immigration.
So some of the people you've helped with immigration, do they then use you for the estate planning then?
Yes.
So maybe that's why that's grown too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, definitely also is the fact that I'm getting known more. People see me.
Yeah.
They know I'm an immigrant. So they're like, oh, immigration. That's the first thing that comes to their mind. So I've been trying to grow more my estate planning part of it. By talking about it more, posting about it more. So I do blogs every week about different topics on estate planning, and so that has been growing a lot. So yeah, I think it's 80% now, and I like that more because I feel I have more control over the client experience than immigration. Immigration is just kind of fill out the forms, do the package, send it, and then everything that is the USCIS officers do, it kind of reflects badly on you, and you're like, I had nothing to do with that. I know
you're just the messenger.
Right, pretty much. So, with estate planning, I control their whole experience, and I try to make it as seamless as possible because I know it's hard to talk about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I want to make them see, because I do things very differently than other estate planning attorneys. So I think that's also been a huge reason why it's grown so much.
Yeah.
It's not just transactional. I'm wanting to be a family attorney for them, so they can come to me if anything in their life changes. Because one of the big myths about estate planning is like it's one and done kind of thing. I got it done. You have that check mark, and we see that the biggest reasons why estate planning documents fail, it's because they haven't been kept up.
Got it.
And so since the attorneys have that transactional thing, they don't really reach out to their...
Out of sight, out of mind once it's done.
Exactly. And it helps, so then they are, in this false sense of security. And then when they pass away, we find that they didn't move assets into a trust when they created it, or they, failed to do different things, or somebody that had name passed away, and now that document's void.
Yeah.
So I want them to have that confidence that they can reach out to me as their life changes, and I'm gonna be there for them to update documents, especially naming guardians. You're close with some people, then they leave, and then the dynamic changes.
Things change,
and so you're not close anymore, and then you forget to update the guardianship nominations for that. So that's one of the reasons. And another one is that we have like a 3-meeting process, and the very last meeting is what I call priceless conversations.
Okay.
So we have we film the parents like leaving messages to the kids if something were to happen to them.
What? Give me chills.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
sweet though.
It is, and it's like it's my favorite part of the whole process. They cry, I cry.
I would cry. Yeah.
Yes, because it's a hard thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But it
But how meaningful for them in case they need to use it. I mean, that's huge. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that's one huge thing that estate planning attorneys have missed is you're way more than your money. You're like your life experiences, what you've been through. You built businesses, you and your husband, and all of that experience, all of that knowledge. That's what the kids are going to miss. They're going to miss you. They're going to miss your voice. They're going to miss the way that you say certain things. Yeah. And so that's why we capture that in video. So they have something to remember you by. And the parents definitely, talk about like how they met or how they wish, what kind of person they wish their daughters or sons would marry, what things they value as important in another human being, their wishes for the kids in the future. And they live with that peace of mind that they did everything to protect their kids. And I love that. I love helping people do that.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's definitely how I feel like, I mean, I don't know any other estate attorneys, but I feel like sometimes attorneys, when you think of an attorney in your mind, you can think it being pretty transactional when you interact with them. It's not always the case, I know, right. But it, definitely seems like that helps you stand out. You definitely stand out with what you're doing. And I like that you're like making yourself a family attorney. You mentioned you're an immigrant. So where are you originally from?
So I am from Argentina.
Okay.
And I came to the U.S. when I was 12 years old with my family. I'm the oldest of 4, and my parents. So we lived in Miami for 3 years and then moved to Chattanooga and been here ever since.
Okay. What brought you guys here? Just your parents?
My parents, yeah. Okay. I was like 15 at the time, so I didn't have much say in where we went.
Are they all still here?
So my parents are here, and 2 of my siblings are here. Another one is a travel nurse, so he's everywhere. He's currently in Colorado, though.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, I know. He really loves it there. So.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun place. I might be wrong in this, but does any of your family work with your company or no?
Not at the moment. My husband helps out with some things.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that we talked about, making it like a family firm.
Sure.
Where he would work there, and then my son maybe in the future.
Yeah.
But well, it's something that we've talked about. But right now my priority is taking care of my child. So the firm is not. I can only see a few clients a month, so my availability is very limited.
Yeah.
And I just try to make enough to help out and pay the things that I have to pay, but mostly, the priority is taking care of my child.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like you want to pick clients that like are going to be worthwhile both ways. You want to give them the right amount of attention, but you don't want to take on too much because you're like, well, if I can't give everybody the attention that they need, and then also your kids. So it's like, because they come first. But I'm more particular now. I think about like what clients that I bring on, because sometimes it's not the right fit for my business. And also like if I can't give them the time that they need and they need somebody who's on it 24/7, I'm not going to call you at 10 o'clock at night.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's important when you have kids to be able to make that decision, because it's hard especially when you first start your business. You're like, oh, I want all these clients.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, this is amazing. I don't want to turn work away. But then you kind of get to a point where you're more established and you're like, this isn't a healthy relationship with this specific person. So no, I think it's very important to set those boundaries ahead of time with your clients. And I do very much see the relationship as let's meet so I can see if you're a good fit for me, and if I am a good fit for you, because I do meet with a lot of people that they're like, I just want a will, and I know that's not gonna work for you, and so I'm not willing to charge you to do something that I know is not gonna work. And they don't see the benefit of having like a lawyer that will be there throughout their life, or they might not see the benefit of that, and so then that's not my client, you know. And having that mindset has been like a work in progress, for sure.
But I think it's definitely helped, because I am so happy with the clients that I bring on. I'm so happy to help them protect their children. I love the relationship that we have, and they feel like friends for life, and I look forward to being there for their family when something happens to them, and seeing their kids grow up and them seeing my kids grow up. I definitely love that relationship. And so I look for like-minded clients that can see the value in having me on their side.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Yeah. So what would you say are your strengths when it comes to being a business owner?
So I it's hard being a lawyer
Yeah.
and a business owner, because the mind of a lawyer is very much like what could go wrong. You're over analyzing. You want to be a perfectionist with everything, and that helps your clients because you're anticipating things that may happen before they happen so that they're protected. And that doesn't work so well when you're a business owner.
Sure.
You kind of have to look at your options and just kind of go by faith. So I think it's been hard to have those two people, those two brains live in me. But I think that once I master those two things, I will definitely be like a great business owner because I can be careful, but also not frozen in indecision.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of in law school, they don't teach you how to be a business owner. You're kind of just like learning it as you go.
Is that like gonna blow up? What's happening? We had them drilling when we were in that office. I did a practice podcast with Ross, and they were drilling. Like, they were forming keys in the property management company downstairs. So we just heard, and then we had to edit it out.
Dentist office
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about your strengths. I think that your two minds, though, could actually make you I think they do make you a great business owner, because as a business owner, you kind of have to see steps further ahead than somebody would if they're just working a 9-to-5 job. Right. So maybe, what you think is making it difficult, maybe that makes you a great business owner. I don't know. I could see it definitely being a strength for you.
Yeah, I think I've only been being my own business owner since 2020. So that's why I think I'm pretty...
That's a long time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people who start their own businesses, I think they fail in the first 5 years. And your business I feel like it's just going like this.
Yes. This month is insane.
Is it?
It's yeah. I'm already booked up for all of this month.
That's
and
awesome.
Looking into July. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy to go through all of that. But I think the first step was realizing that those two brains are conflicting, because at first it's like, why isn't it working?
Yeah.
So then you realize that those things are conflicting, and I think that has helped me be more introspective about different issues that I've had, because I was like, okay, so I'm having problems with moving my business forward. What's stopping that? And then I'm like, oh wow, so my attorney brain is hindering my business, right?
Oh, okay. So I can see that.
Yeah, I realized that. So now I'm working on having those two work together, which also led to
like an angel on one side and a devil on the other side. Maybe they're both angels or both devils. I don't know.
Yeah. Which led to other like self-realizations of like money dysmorphia, how to work with that, and I think that's my biggest asset. It's like I'm not afraid to face the hard things that come into being a business owner.
Sure.
and changing, and then realizing like, thank you so much for helping me be a perfectionist. That's why I became a lawyer, right? My perfectionist tendencies were great for that. But at the same time, like, okay, now I need to evolve into something else. And so...
You hit walls. Like, you hit a point where you're like, I could stay here and be fine. Or you're like, but I can see ahead and I want to jump. And you like, do I jump or do I not jump? And I'm always like, well, it's scary. But I think that's what sets business owner minds apart from other people, is that they're able to see like, I can make this jump. It's going to be hard, but like I'm willing to put in the work. Because I've hit walls like that too, where I'm like, man, I'm fine here. But then you're like, I just want to go a little bit further and a little bit further. And you see if you can do it and you can handle it, it's going to be work, but you're like, let's do it. Let's go. So.
Right. No, and that's the thing. I always try to be the best like business owner and the best attorney for my clients. So I do push myself, in things that I'm like, okay, I could be better at this. So how do I get better?
Yeah.
I did see a post before where like, people looking for the cheapest something, and I'm like, I'm definitely not the cheapest.
Yeah.
But it's because of that. Yeah. I'm like, it's because of that. It's because I'm also not settling in that comfortable place.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, what else could I offer my clients that would be of value to them?
Yeah.
And yeah, it will obviously cost.
You kind of get what you pay for too.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to work for free, but if you have somebody who's like the cheapest one out there, the people searching for that, like that's a specific audience,
Right.
So yeah, you definitely know your audience.
Yeah.
And it goes back to like, it's okay to say no to some clients
Right.
or bringing people on if you think it's not going to be a good fit.
Right. No, and I've seen people pay pretty close to my fee for really crappy documents.
Yeah.
Which
is sad.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, so I'm not super expensive compared to other things, and what I offer is so much more valuable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been good that to see that difference and know like, okay, I'm offering something really valuable to my clients, and I'm not like super more expensive to where they're not affordable. And I never want people to not get it done because of money. So I work with them to try to make it work. But yeah, sure. I feel like innovating yourself will always make you more expensive than other people, but it's because you bring a whole lot more to the table.
What is happening? They're literally breaking the building down next door.
No, you're fine.
Anyway, well, so how did you get to the point where you started your own business? What were you doing before? Were you doing estate and immigration law? So
no, I opened my own firm right out of law school. I did practice. I was a law clerk when I was in law school, and before going to law school, I was a legal assistant for a few firms that did immigration and estate planning as well. So
do those usually go hand in hand? Is that like?
I didn't see it.
No,
I didn't see it. I found out later. I didn't really work in the estate planning side, but I knew enough to know that. A little bit of how they were doing. That's when I saw like how transactional it really is. They would just meet, the client would be like, okay, I want this done. The attorney would be like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Then they would have like Word documents that they would like find and replace names. Yeah. And then give it to them. And in my head, I was just like, but every family is different. Why are the documents the same?
Yeah.
Especially now when you have blended families with kids before or kids not together or kids before and kids together.
Yeah.
You have couples that have been together, a long time. You have older couples with kids grown.
Yeah.
It's just every family is different and their family dynamics are so different. I find like it's so important for me to know, right? Like, is there a conflict in your family?
Yeah.
Is there somebody that you wouldn't want to take care of your kids? And they're like, oh, and nobody has ever asked me that, and they have met with other
all the tea.
attorneys. Yeah. The tea, but also, right, I'm trying to see like where are the holes in this, which I didn't see it when I was
People probably don't even think to ask that one, and if they think about it, they probably don't want to ask it because they're probably like, I'm scared. They're probably scared too, honestly.
Right.
I feel like you definitely take a unique spin on it because I would never think that a lawyer would ask me if they're asking about like a will or estate planning. I didn't think they'd ask me like, are there conflicts in your family? But that's a good thing to know because if there's somebody that you for sure don't want to get your children, and then your spouse or somebody else does, or like, I don't know, there's a lot of things that could go wrong.
Right. And even tendencies of people, right? Like, is the person that you name as a trustee a person that would be open to sharing what's going on with it, or are they kind of like they feel like they have the power, they go on a power trip, right? I'm like, I made them tell me like, why is this person a good person to be your trustee? And so I then ask them questions, and then they themselves realize like, oh, maybe that's not the best. I could see how this could cause conflict in the family, so maybe we should pick somebody else. And that's why I'm there also, because if later on, right, they see some, or they're like, no, that's a good person, but later on they see some qualities that I talked about and brings up, an alarm in their heads. They're like, okay, well, we need to change it.
Priscilla was right.
Yes. Yes. And come and meet with me. That's why, it has to be an ongoing thing with your attorney.
But you keep up that relationship, and I'm sure once people do it, they need some edits done down the road, and then they probably give you referrals, and that's a huge part of being a business owner. And even in a lot of different fields, in my field, like referrals are huge. Right. And sometimes you'll have clients that will buy or sell again. So, if you don't keep up on those client relationships, they're going to use someone else. Right. Which they could do. They could take the documents. I'm sure you've had people come from a different lawyer and bring you the documents, and you're like, this is not enough.
Yes, I've seen trusts that are like 10 pages long. Wow. Where mine are close to 100. Wow. Yeah. So I was like,
how long should a trust be? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what I tell my clients is like, my trusts are definitely way bigger than most attorneys. So 10 is, on the
hopefully
really
not something you probably shouldn't use something you can find on Google.
Right. So, but I tell them I'm preparing you for a trip.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what's going to happen on this trip, right? So I want to make sure I cover all of your bases so that you have something in your luggage that could, cover whatever happens. And so that's why it's so, long.
Yeah.
It's because I'm protecting anything that could happen.
Plus, I feel like you'd rather have it be too long than too short.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I see people that pay $4,000 for like a 10-page trust, I was just like, well, that's I'm glad you came to me at this time. So it's definitely interesting getting those clients, and I asked them too, like, oh, when's the last time you heard from their attorney? And they have trusts that are from other states. Wow. Or that haven't been updated or even heard from their attorney in like 10 years.
Wow.
And so that's very problematic. And that goes into the transactional aspect of it, and that false sense of security of like, I got it done.
I mean, some people probably want that, like you said, like they just want the will and they want to move on and they don't need to keep up that relationship. But you definitely have a unique approach to your business and being in law. So what would you say are your biggest challenges when it comes to owning a business and maintaining your personal life?
So I think definitely it has been like the mom guilt, right? Feeling like I'm not a good lawyer, like I'm not being a good lawyer or good business owner, and also not being a good mom.
Yeah.
So when I'm with my child, I'm like thinking about my cases or what should I be doing? Maybe I should be working on this. And then when I'm at work, I'm like, oh man, my child is probably missing me.
Yeah.
And I think that every mom, this is like
I feel like it's part of being human and being a mom. Like most moms that I meet have that who work. It's like when you're at home, the thoughts get mixed. I mean, how could they not? Because when you're not working a 9 to 5, you don't really clock out ever. Exactly. And then you never clock out of being a mom. So it's like, how could they not overlap? So it's hard to let go of that guilt. But I think everybody has that.
Yeah, but even moms do that all the time, right? In their even when they're not working, right? They're like, okay, I have to get groceries and I have to do laundry. And so when you add to that being a business owner, and like having to take care of clients and all, it's definitely you're never off work, and that's exhausting. And I definitely think like also taking care of myself has been a struggle, because I feel like everybody goes first before me, right? Like my child's needs go first, my clients go first, and then that's when I guess we'll go back to like working on yourself. I can't be my best self for my child or my clients if I'm not taking care of myself.
Right.
So having to force myself to take care of myself, meditate, self-care, all of that stuff.
Put yourself first in some ways. And like, it's important. And I know you come to the Moms in Business meetups. But it's important, like those, I love hearing you and Diana have mentioned, like, it's like because it's separate where you're not just focusing on business or your kids. It's like something different, whether it be going to dinner, out with people, like-minded people or friends, or going to the gym, or just like taking time that's separate from both of those things. Because, when you own a business and when you're a parent, you're like 24/7 focused on that. And so it's important to take, just a little sliver, like an hour a day is to yourself to do something, Sometimes I just take my dog for a walk at the end of the day when the kids are, cared for and everything's done. I'm like, I'm just going to go by myself and walk the dog because he doesn't require much attention.
Yeah, no, yeah. And yeah, that feeling also that you always have to be on, right? Because I was like, okay, I'm going to walk because that really helps me, and also being out, it's good for you, right? And so I actually enjoy listening to music, but then I felt guilty listening to music because I was like, I should be listening to a podcast about how to be a better business owner, or, how to be a better lawyer.
But that's work.
But that's work, but I just feel like I'm always, if I have any free time, it should be either my child or,
I get that too. I had someone tell me once you can't ever check out of anything. Like, you can't fully check out of anything just as a human being, but you can check into something else. So I started listening to like murder. I mean, people love true crime. I love true crime. Yeah, I would make that your like podcast, because then you're like, okay, I'm at least learning about something. It's like a hobby, it's like having a hobby. Because I feel that too. Like, I'm like, oh, I should be reading this book about parenting or reading this book about business, but it still is work. And then it's focused on those two like categories or buckets, however you want to word it. But yeah, you should find like a fun podcast to listen to, or listen to your music.
I think, yeah.
What kind of music are you listening to?
Latin music. Okay. I love Latin music.
Love it.
Yeah, it's just like the rhythm gives me energy.
Or you could do like half and half,
Yeah. No, you definitely have to find those ways in which you don't feel guilty. So yeah, it's definitely like either I tell my mind like you need this. You do. Right, to come down, then you can think about something else, or doing some kind of compromise. So I will, half the walk I will listen to music, and the other half I'll listen to a podcast. So yeah, but it's always hard having those two, working, your brain working all the time.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it makes it hard to have like that personal, and business split. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people say like, oh, work-life balance, do you have that? I'm like, what really is that?
I don't think there's a balance. I feel like sometimes my household and my kids require a lot more most of the time, but I feel like they need a lot. Like, some days I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to just pour so much energy into them, and then my business kind of will take the back burner. And then there's other days where something, a property just went up, or something is, needs a lot more of my attention there. And hopefully it's when I have childcare. Right. But yeah, I feel like it's not like a balance. It's like you kind of give what you need to at the time to wherever it's just learning, like, not even multitasking. It's like putting the attention on one thing that really needs it at the time, and then focusing and shifting. So yeah, I've heard it called a sway before. I feel like that's a better way to say it. Because you can't balance. It's never going to be perfectly equal.
Exactly. That's what when people say work-life balance, I'm like, what is that? I think like that makes it really hard because people are looking for that, and then they feel like they're failing at getting that, and then it's just, they feel bad about it, right? Especially a perfectionist like myself. I don't like to feel like I fail, but I love that sway thing. Yeah, just because swaying back and forth, trying to stay up. And your kids are gonna be at this age where they need you a lot, only for a short time, and then you can dedicate yourself to your business. Put more in, yeah. So, and at times, I have to leave him. I have conferences that I have to go to, which I take him to all of them right now. That's cute. At some point, I'm going to have to leave him. But, and that's what I love about my business, the fact that I get to make those calls. Yeah. Right?
So you bring him, do you bring your husband to help?
I do, yes.
Yeah. Is he going into these meetings with you?
Yeah.
It's a very well-behaved 2-year-old.
I know. Talking about that too, there's that thing of like, oh, if I'm bringing my child, am I really professional, right?
Yeah, we
I've
talked
had
about that.
yeah, and I've had that in my head when I'm. But I love seeing women with their children at showings.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have a friend that has her kids at her chiropractic office.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love seeing that. So.
Because it's part of life. I mean, there's definitely a time and a place where I can't have my kids there.
Right.
Like, if I have a new client meeting, there's no way I'm going to bring my kid to that because they're probably not going to sign on. They're going to be like, what is going on? Especially with 3. It's like a zoo. But it's definitely, there's certain clients where they're way more comfortable with it because they understand because they're in that. You know, there's some people that I've worked with that don't have kids that kind of just ignored mine, which is fine. But and I try, like, you know, I have childcare in place and we set up things, but things happen, you know, people call in sick or like their school's closed for a certain reason, you know, things happen. Or they want to see, like with me, people want to see houses after they're off of work at like 5:30 at night, and I have my kids then, and so it's like sometimes I have to bring them. I haven't brought all 3 yet. Thank God. I don't know if I can handle that. But I would bring my older 2, and you know, I used to be like, oh, I'm so sorry that I brought them, and I've stopped because I'm like, they know working with me, like I lay that out to them, like they might be with me sometimes. I'm not going to miss deadlines for you though, and they won't be, you know, they won't be there every single time.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the name of your business, right? So I think if they didn't know that you come with children, then you know that should have given them a hint.
Learn to read. Well, you mentioned you do a blog, correct?
Yes.
And then post different places. You said you don't have a podcast, but you want to start one, right?
I mean, I would like to. Do you guys want one? You know? Would you like to learn more about estate planning? Yeah. So, I think it would be very interesting to talk about estate planning, about cases.
Yeah.
I think people relate more to stories than just, you know, hearing.
Do you have any juicy
planning.
stories you can tell?
So many. There's one that I always tell about.
Okay.
Naming guardians for children that I think really, you know, hits home with most parents about the importance of this. And it was the one of, there was this mom that, you know, worked and had, you know, children. And so she had a meeting, got a babysitter for her kid. Then the meeting got canceled, so she was like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym since I have a babysitter. Was running the treadmill, had an aneurysm, and, you know, died on the spot. The husband traveled for work. He was abroad in another country at the time. And because, you know, you're at the gym, they couldn't find which box her stuff was in, so they didn't know who she was. The babysitter started to get worried about why she wasn't coming home, called the police. The police called Child Protective Services because they don't, you know, want the liability of picking who the child stays with, so they just called Child Protective Services for them to decide. So Child Protective Services took the kid because the babysitter didn't have any kind of document saying that she could, you know, stay with the kid. And so the kid was with them. The dad was notified abroad. He couldn't get a airplane, you know, a plane to come back soon enough. He did get here within a few days, but the kid stayed with Child Protective Services that time. So by the time the dad got here, you know, the kid had already been informed that the mom had died. And it must have been by somebody else. Yes. And so the kid had a lot of trauma from that whole
Do you know how old
situation.
The kid was? Or age range?
I think it was between like, I think it was like 6 or 7.
Okay, so old enough to understand.
Yeah. But still, you know, super traumatized by the whole.
Yeah, and then having to stay with, I mean, he knows his babysitter.
Right. But
so
doesn't know
anybody. But then had to go and stay. Yeah. What would you recommend that was done differently in that situation?
So I would recommend that they name short-term guardians. So all my clients, the first thing we do is name people that are 5 minutes from the home that could show up if something were to happen to them. And then we name the long-term guardians. And so that if there's people that are in, another state, the kids could be with someone they know right away. My goal is that no kid is in the care of strangers.
Yeah.
Or even
That's scary for a little kid, especially like a kid who understands what's going on is old enough. Like they're also grieving, and they're not even like someone else had to tell that kid that his mom died. That's really sad.
Yeah. Who's telling your kids this information? How?
Yeah.
Because the way that you say it's so scary.
Them there to grieve on their own.
Right.
That's really sad.
Yeah. So definitely name short-term guardians, long-term guardians. Our clients have cards that go in their wallet that say if something were to happen to me, these are the people that are authorized to stay with my children. So the police or Child Protective Services know where to call. We have instructions for babysitters that say if we don't come back when we were supposed to and you can't get a hold of us, do not call the police, call the short-term guardians.
Got it.
So they can show up with the letter that says that they have authorization to stay with the children.
So they get a letter. The short-term guardians get a letter.
All guardians get a letter, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do, because imagine having to okay, where's the will? We name somebody in the will. Where is it? Or where's the trust? And the trust is super big. Where in the trust does it say about guardianships? It takes a long time. We're trying to make it easy for them. So it's a one page of, saying, me, Lisa and Ross name such
we need to edit what we've done. I don't think we've sent out a letter. So that must not be common for all.
It's not actually. One of the few attorneys that does that.
Because some I'm sure most people let whoever the long-term guardian is know that they're going to be the long-term guardian, but there's probably some cases where they don't know and they then are left with these kids or
and that's why I say that it's so important to talk right about these things with people so that they
even
know.
Even if you make your sister mad.
Even if you make people uncomfortable. Yes, so that they know who to call if somebody else doesn't, if the babysitter doesn't remember. All of that information. We also have healthcare directives for the children so that if something happens while the parents are away, nowadays parents go on anniversary trips and stuff and leave the kids with other people so they can take them to the hospital and have document that says if they have any allergies, if they have any kind of problems, and they can also get information about the children. So it's called a kids protection plan.
Cool.
And it includes all of that outside of the will and the trust. So you have your will, your trust, your nominations, all of that in there, but then you have all these documents outside of it that are easy to find that you give to the people that you named in your will, that you named in your will and trust, so that they can be there for your kids if you can't be. Yeah,
that's incredible. Okay, well, what advice would you give to yourself 4 years ago when you said you started your business? What would you give to Priscilla 4 years ago that you know now when it comes to being a business owner and a mother?
Wow. Well, I think I would say take care of your time. I feel like I was very careless with my time starting, very scattered brain, right? Trying to do everything at the same time. And time is a non-renewable resource.
Yeah.
Right? You can always make more money. You can make more things, but you don't have more time.
Right.
So really organizing myself. Now, I on Mondays, I sit down. First thing I do for an hour is look at my whole schedule. What do I need to get done? When do I need to do it? And I live by my calendar. If it's not there, then it doesn't get done.
Yeah.
But it's not just work stuff. It's important to put in walk at this time. Take, play with my child at this time.
Yeah.
Put everything you do, in your business, because then it's easy. And that even has taken some, change, because at first I would just put work stuff.
Yeah.
And then I found that I would
double book,
and definitely didn't have enough time for everything that I was putting there. So then you have to be kind of realistic about how much can you accomplish. And then I started adding my personal stuff, like a block of time to spend with your child. Like this is when I take my child to the library so he can do like preschool,
Cute.
you know, reading.
Yeah.
And this is the time, and put that in your calendar because that's part of your life.
Yeah.
And so once
And they overlap, like, you know, they really overlap.
They do.
Like this.
They do, yeah. So yeah, it's very important to take care of my time.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that better at the beginning.
It's very valuable. It's something you can't get back. I'm sure you think of that often being in estate planning.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to get that time back. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, you know. So and also trying to do things, I would definitely do it again. Like I would tell myself, like, like
It's worth it.
it's worth it. Go on your own, even if you're trying to start a business when nobody's networking.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you.
Yeah.
Because everybody's home
But they
with
do now.
COVID. Yeah, I know. but yeah, do it again. And I would also tell myself, like, adjust your ideal of success. I think I had a very different ideal of success that wasn't really my ideal of success. I realized later on it was what I thought success should be, which was, you know, making a lot of money, everybody knowing who I was, and being like the top, you know, lawyer. And then I realized that success to me actually meant having the freedom to take my child to preschool, then take him, you know, on a walk, and then help people protect their families, and having those together and making my own schedule. That was success to me, having that freedom to do those things. But it's still, you know, you struggle with the ideas that you've grown up for years and years of, like, this is success.
Yeah, it's hard to break out of that mindset. I feel like our biggest competitor is ourselves too, you know, because most people do think of success as money or being really well known, but being a business owner, it can be lonely at times, for sure. I'm sure you've felt that. And it's a lot of like introspectiveness, but then also self-motivation. And once you get to that point, though, where you know what your version of success is, and you know where you want to be and where you want your business to go, I feel like that's success to me. When you get, you know, the freedom to make the decisions you want, and then the time back with family and loved ones. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yes, I think deciding what success is, definitely it's a big one before you start, because then you're gonna just go all kinds of different directions and be miserable.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not your idea.
And maybe,
of success.
well, your son is 2, right? So maybe it changed when he was born, you know, realizing you could have that time with him.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe that was part of it.
Yeah. And even, I feel like that definitely made things easier of being like, this is true freedom. But, you know, you always have like yourself in the background being like, no, it's money, go get money, right? Yeah. That's how people are gonna know that you're very successful.
My least favorite question people ask me is, I think this is probably more real estate related, but they'll be like, oh, you're in real estate, so you have a really flexible schedule. And I'm like, no, I don't. You can, like, as a business owner, make your own schedule, but sometimes you are at the hands of other people's schedules as well. So it's like, a calendar is very, very important.
Right.
And then there's like my non-negotiable time. Like I won't call people past a certain time no matter what. Because people in this business think everything is an emergency.
Right.
And COVID made it 10 times worse because the housing market was crazy, and you know, it was just nuts. And so I think it made it worse. It's gotten a little bit better, but I also think I've gotten better at setting those boundaries. Right. But yeah, that's my least favorite question people ask me, because I'm like, no, if you have like kids and then you're running a business and then you have a bunch of clients and you're keeping up, it's like your schedule's, I would not call it flexible.
Well, yeah.
I can say no to certain things and like put things in place, but I wouldn't say it's like a easy, flexible schedule.
Right.
Or I do make my own hours-ish, but there's times where I'm working at home and have my kids, and it's a zoo.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, though, is that you get the chance to do that. I know, you know, one of the reasons why I started my own law firm was because I didn't want somebody else telling me when I could get
your
my
kid.
children. Yeah, if they're at school and they're like, okay, you need to go home because whatever the reason, then do I have to ask permission to go get him?
If they're sick or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That is the beauty of it is, if my kids have off or something, I'm okay. Like I can work from home anytime if I need to. So.
Yeah. If somebody wants an appointment at like 7 p.m., I can make that happen. If I can schedule it. So I make my own time and, also try to accommodate people. So yeah, it's definitely
it's like a puzzle, putting your schedule together.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And then when technology doesn't help or, it's definitely a mess trying to get all of that. But I would definitely say that, being intentional about your time and defining what success is something that I would tell myself to
I've never had anybody say that, so that's a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
One last thing I wanted to mention, and then we'll kind of wrap things up, but you have a meetup, right, that you do once a month?
For Latin people.
Okay, yeah. I just thought, I knew you did a meetup I didn't know if it was specific to law or not.
No, it's not. I started this group in the Chattanooga area of Latin entrepreneurs, professionals. I think there's a lot of
plug it.
Yes. If you're a Latin person that has a profession or you're an entrepreneur, we get together every fourth Thursday of the month to just connect and support each other through this. There was nothing like this before, and it was important to get to know each other. So
that's amazing. I saw your stories on one and it looked really fun.
We definitely
karaoke.
Yes, we definitely do things way differently than other networking events, but I think that having more than just hi, my name is such and such and here's my card, right?
There's I'm guessing more of a cultural aspect.
Definitely the cultural, yes.
Whereas here,
it's
a little dry, probably.
I know, yeah. So we do karaoke sometimes. Sometimes, there's Latin music and people dance afterwards. And
do you do it at the same location or you do different ones?
We do different ones. So we switch between Hickson, downtown, Hamilton Place area.
Oh, so you're all over.
Yeah, we try to do ones because different people are in different places. Yeah. So we do that, and it's been growing. We have a Facebook group that has 350 members.
Awesome.
And I think we started this maybe a little bit over a year ago.
That's amazing.
So it's grown really fast. So yeah, we do that.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's all I got for you, but thank you for coming on. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It was great talking to you and, talking about being a business owner, being a mom. And yeah, I'm really glad that we also have that moms group.
Yeah, moms in business. Yeah, that's how I met you. You brought Priscilla into my life. So,
yes.
Well, yeah, thank you for coming on and have a great day.
Thank you.